Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from Chuck. I love his Invincible power scaling videos, and I think this is an interesting one. We've got why Godzilla versus Omni-Man is close. Now I've seen some crazy power scaling for Godzilla back in the day, and we're talking about Omni-Man here. This is something else. I'm not. I've seen spoilers for like future power scaling stuff for where these characters are at, but really in my head I only remember like what I'm currently watching in the cartoon. I love season 2. Omni Man is pretty much up there. There are stronger Ultramax, but let's see where this goes. I want to say Omni Man still wins. Because when it says Godzilla vs. Omni-Man is close, it doesn't necessarily mean who is, I think Omni-Man still got this, but let's go through the power scaling.
With Invincible's spectacular second season concluding recently,
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
and the MonsterVerse expanding its lore even further with the addition of Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire,
Oh, yeah.
I thought what better way to cover both franchises than having their iconic characters, Godzilla and Omni-Man, duke it out for the balance of the Earth and its people. So let's say that Big G existed in the world of Invincible, and sensed that there was a huge threat to
Because they did have a kaiju fight in season 2 as well, didn't they? So that's
the
cool.
Earth in the form of Omni-Man. Would the radioactive lizard be able to fend off the mustache super fascist, or would he fall, just like the Guardians of the Globe and the multitudes of heroes across countless timelines did, against the Ultraman invasion? For this video, I decided to go over feats, scaling, statements, and the like to determine which of these two powerhouses would beat the other in a fight. And pretty obvious here, but there will be spoilers ahead for the Godzilla movie and the Invincible series.
That's fine, because I've not really watched any of the Godzilla movies. I literally learned from watching videos like this, so yeah.
Let's begin with Omni-Man, who is quite a unit in several ways. Whether it's massacring the well-renowned Guardians of the Globe, committing genocide on the Flaxons in an explosive fashion,
That was so sick.
or brutalizing his own people in the Season 2 Thraxa battle, to eventually getting the respect of Thrak, the greatest Ultraman warrior in history. Nolan Grayson has seen more than his fair share of action and conquest in his life that has spanned for well over 2,000 years. In terms of attack potency and durability, he should easily be in the multi-continental to planetary levels of power, going by how he contributed to a planet-destroying feat alongside Thetis, a shot from Space Racer, and his son, Mark. Yeah, the planet's core was unstable, but fragmenting a planet with 1.25 times the gravity of Earth is still pretty impressive. These levels of power are consistent since we have seen a pre-Viltrumite War Mark tank a nuke that is potent enough to induce solar flares, with solar flares being able to release the power of 1 billion hydrogen bombs according to NASA. And most of these solar flares can release between 10 to the 27th ergs to 10 to the 32 ergs per second, which when
What the fuck are ergs?
converted into joules is enough energy to wipe out countries and continents.
Okay.
We've also seen Tech Jacket, a character who will likely appear in the next season and who is below most Viltrumites, endure a nuke that was potent enough to create a massive hole in a spaceship the size of Eurasia,
I can't wait for season 3, man. I can't wait.
which is 20 million square miles.
to me.
We've also seen far inferior characters like Thoth and Guardian the Globe, which is canon to Invincible, being able to life-fight planets over time with their ever-growing and expanding power waves. Yet even though these levels of energy are immense and they've experienced in multitudes of times before, Thoth still felt overwhelmed by Brit's Latin power, who is fodder to Viltrumites. There's even crazier stuff like the coalition of planets being able to destroy a solar disk, which was blocking the sunshine so effectively that the planet the Ragnars were on froze completely. This is significant since even the coalition of planets' impressive weaponry proved to be no match for Viltrumites, inferring that they scale higher than destroying a pseudo-Dyson swarm. We don't know the size of the star or if the disk simply blocks sunlight or actively absorbs it, but it is safe to say that destroying such a massive structure should yield planetary and arguably stellar ranges of power. We can go even further, since Omni-Man is stronger than Dinosaurus, who was unable to damage Thrag, yet was able to one-shot Omnipotus, who is stated as being able to destroy solar systems through
Yeah, apparently he's going to be a big deal coming down soon.
chain reactions. Through this, we could argue that he's in the stellar ranges of power depending on the size of the solar system and the rate of destruction you think he did. I don't think the stellar scaling is consistent, but multi-continental to planetary ranges seems more reasonable. It's also worth noting that Omni-Man, even prior to his implied power-up in the final Viltrumite conflict, was seen as a big enough challenge that the Viltrumite Empire had to send 3 seasoned soldiers after him. In terms of speed, Viltrumites are casually massively hypersonic at the very least, given that we have seen a pre-Omni-Man fight Invincible, aka a Scrublord at this point, being able to reach Antarctica from the United States in less than a minute.
Damn.
However, they are very comfortably in the relativistic to massively faster than light in travel, combat, and reaction speeds. Time and time again though, I've seen people downplay the speed of the Viltrumites by saying that these superluminal speeds are only achieved through travel, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Even early Mark was able to react to and fight Alan to the moon from the Earth in a few seconds, which is relativistic. We've seen Conquest, an elder Viltrumite who is an absolute menace and who will likely appear in the next season.
Oh mate, I've heard he is dangerous. Because the older you get as a Viltrumite, the stronger you get. It don't you? So he is like one of the oldest.
Being able to track, intercept, and ram into a collision of planet's spaceship, which can travel across galaxies in a couple of days, who Mark was able to defeat after an immensely difficult battle. And by that logic, Omni-Man and whoever scales to him should be capable of these very same speed feats.
Right.
This is very consistent since we have seen Alan, who Omni-Man scales to, react to a Viltrumite spaceship which have comparable, arguably superior speeds to the coalition of planet spaceships. His job is literally to travel to other galaxies and solar systems to evaluate a planet's level of protection, and the Invincible guidebooks even say that his reaction times are comparable to his flight speeds. If that wasn't enough, we have seen Mark outspeed the fastest coalition of planet ship that they had, which is once again reiterated in the guidebooks by them saying that Viltrumites rival the speed of starships. And it's further backed up by Omni-Man being able to reach Thraxa, which is multiple galaxies away from the Earth, in a week. Although not quite as fast as him, Omni-Man should scale in some magnitude to Thrag, who was able to react to and evade multiple of Space Racer's Infinity Ray Blast, which have comparable, if not superior speeds to Viltrumites, since that gang had to exert themselves a good amount to catch up to it. And we've also seen Omni-Man manage to disarm Space Racer before his blast could reach him as well.
Whoa.
So just to reiterate, Metro Man would definitely get blitzed by Omni-Man is all I'm saying. Point is, Omni-Man being massively faster than
I'm glad you pointed that out, Chuck. That's what everyone was wondering.
light makes sense, and the main reason they cannot perform these speeds all the time is because of the negative effects they can have on the atmosphere, as we saw during the annihilation of the Flaxons. And to further curb any doubt, even a heavily demotivated and emotionally conflicted Omni-Man, upon trying to terminate himself, was able to resist the pull of a black hole casually. Now, what does the Super Saiyan Rose Godzilla have in store
Oh, I love that. Cool.
for us?
Okay.
Well, even in his very early days, he was able to withstand being near the collision of the Permian mass extinction meteor, which easily decimated a country, if not more. But to really get into the meat of the ginormous sandwich
That looks so freaking cool.
that is Godzilla's power level, we have to analyze his battles with King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, and of course, Shimo and the Scar King
What the fuck is that? That looks so cool.
in the newest film.
Yo.
For one, King Ghidorah's supermassive storm that covered Brazil was stated to be the largest recorded in history,
my God.
making it superior to hurricanes and tropical storms, which have a cloud altitude of upwards of 20,000 meters. Using CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy, we can get a decent estimate to how much latent power was within Ghidorah's storm, which is approximately 950 quintillion joules.
Oh my god, that's such a big number. How many zeros is that? How many zeros?
Assuming that cloud's altitude was 12,000 meters,
Someone type that in the comment section with all the zeros.
which is a huge
I
low
need to
ball.
see that.
But even then, it is enough energy to wipe out a country. Even far smaller storms are able to produce the power of thousands of atomic bombs within their lifetime, let alone the energy made by a super hurricane spawned by a space wyvern. As revealed in the novels, Godzilla was able to endure the bottled up energy of 100 storms from Ghidorah. So if you want to say that just one of his storms already has country-busting levels of power, then it's fair to say that he can reach large country, if not continental, ranges of attack potency and durability, and as such, Godzilla will scale from that. And that's not even including all the energy it was releasing passively to create thousands of hurricanes and tornadoes elsewhere.
Yo.
So you can even argue him even higher than that. Although this would apply more towards range of influence and environmental destruction rather than straight up attack power, Ghidorah would have been able to essentially life-wipe the planet within a few weeks to months. This multi-continental range is further exemplified by the Pearl White Titan Shimo, who Godzilla was able to match, being able to freeze the planet and cause the last ice age. And yeah, just because you can freeze most of the planet doesn't outright mean that you can blow it up in one shot, but it's fair to say that their attack potency and durability scale in some magnitude to the power they are releasing, so multi-continental makes a lot of sense. However, there is an even higher metric of power that we can give Godzilla even prior to his pink power-up, going by the Hollow Earth and its own massive energy levels. As revealed in the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show, the rifts or portals that the Titans use to maneuver around the planet give off a frequency of 30 exahertz, or in other words, 30 quintillion hertz and greater. Exahertz are typically used to measure things like, I don't know, supermassive black holes, which can have the mass of hundreds of thousands to millions of suns, and pulsars, which are highly
This is some high-ass scale in this, Jesus Christ.
magnetized rotating neutron stars. In the show, which I definitely say is worth a watch, they refer to Titan appearances as gamma ray spikes and gamma ray bursts, which is outright insane if you think about it. Even the weakest gamma ray burst can expend more power than our sun has in its lifetime thus far, with the strongest gamma ray burst having, no joke, the power of nearly 9,000 supernovas. To put this into perspective, the sun releases multi-continental wiping levels of power every second. In other words, the sun releases the power of over 1 billion atomic bombs every second. So even a fodder gamma ray burst should have the power of numerous supernovas.
Whoa.
This is very insane for scaling Godzilla because even prior to his supercharged and evolved states, he was stated as having a power level reading comparable to that of the Hollow Earth itself, which has its own storm that acts as a pseudo-star, supplying the large and diverse ecosystem with sustenance. If just entry portals have power level readings that rival supernovas, then it's crazy to think about how much power the entire Hollow Earth has. If these power level readings are to be taken seriously, then we can definitely argue for stellar level Godzilla. And hey, maybe that statement in the King of the Monsters novel calling nuclear Godzilla a red giant going supernova might not be that far-fetched after all. You can certainly argue that it's not consistent given that we have seen human weapons cause some sort of discomfort or pain to Godzilla, such as when it hits his gills or his dorsal plates, but I guess it would just upskill human technology if you want to take these Monarch statements seriously. We'll come back to the Monarch stuff later, but within the new movie, Godzilla not only became supercharged by absorbing radiation from a nuclear plant, but he further evolved into a bright pink lizard after defeating Tiamat in her lair.
What the fuck?
With it being confirmed by the movie itself that Godzilla unlocked 20 times the energy capacity, and as a funny side note, the form was in fact inspired by Goku's Kaioken technique.
That's cool.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the MonsterVerse writers had some power scalers in their ranks, given that the Monarch show mentions Akira Toriyama. Rest in peace, King. Anyways, if pre-supercharged Godzilla already has large country to continental levels of power, then multiplying that by 20 times should easily warrant multi-continental to planetary ranges of power. Going by the Monarch stuff though, he'd basically be 20 times of whatever power is in a massive supernova cluster. Also, the 20 times energy capacity may not necessarily mean 20 times the power output, but we know that he got at least 2 times stronger according to a Chinese factoid for the movie. I personally lean more into the multi-continental to planetary ranges for this iteration of Big G, but I did want to mention the Monarch stuff for those that like the statements they had in there. Maybe to make it more straightforward, we'll see if the future of the MonsterVerse has Space Godzilla in the works, who in the Heisei era had consumed the energy of exploding stars after all. In terms of combat speed, Godzilla should easily be massively hypersonic given that he was able to keep up with Ghidorah, who could dodge his atomic breath, which even in a deep power state, reached the Hollow Earth within a few minutes going by cinematic timing. You could even argue that his atomic breath is light speed, being that it's called a pillar of light in the novels, but I'd say the massively hypersonic metric is more consistent.
Oh, that looks so sick.
So now that we have gone over both characters, who would dethrone the other?
Right, who
the
wins?
Titan responsible for the balance of the
wins?
Earth, or one of the greatest
You decide. Oh no, wait.
Viltrumite warriors who conquered hundreds of planets? I'd say that at first glance, feats-wise, both characters are quite comparable, with both of them being within the multi-continental to planetary ranges of power in terms of attack potency and durability. But I say that Godzilla slightly out-edges here due to his confirmed multiplier and denser molecular structure.
Oh.
In terms of speed, Omni-Man very easily takes this category. Even if we were to say that Godzilla's base atomic breath was light speed and that his evolved form would also make his atomic breath 20 times as fast, making it 20 times light speed, Omni-Man has casually showcased speeds that on that. And I wouldn't even put much confidence in Godzilla's new atomic breath being any faster. More powerful, sure, but faster wouldn't really make sense since Scar King, who was getting bullied by Preamp Kong to the point he had to call in Shimo, was able to react to it, even though Preamp Kong was already finding it challenging to maneuver around his deep power blue beam prior to the supercharged amp, let alone the evolved amp, so I really don't think it's likely that the beam got any faster. Speaking of speed, I have seen people try to downplay Omni-Man's agility, by saying that he isn't as fast as Light since he failed to catch up to Cecil's teleportation, or since he had difficulty with Red Rush in the show. There's too many feats showcasing that they can fight at superluminal speeds to make it an outlier, as I mentioned earlier. Even though the same show showcases early Mark fighting pre-Amp Allen to the moon in a few seconds, which is far faster than any jet or missile that MonsterVerse humans could ever fire, which Godzilla has gotten hit by countless times. Unless we are to expect that these missiles are faster than light or something like that. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't think such technology is impossible for a Godzilla movie, as we've seen crazy stuff like Mechagodzilla and Mogera before, but Monarch doesn't have such a thing in their toolset just yet. Not to mention that Omni-Man in a timeline where Invincible was brought back to the past, was able to hold his own against the Guardians of the Globe and his son at once. So he's definitely fast as if he can fight Red Rush alongside his son and other Guardians at the same time. And to further prove he's faster than all of these fools, he outright blitzed all of them in the comic when he first set out his attack. And if people want to downplay with that, we could also just equally downplay pre-supercharged Godzilla by saying that his attack potency isn't even city level, going by the Godzilla vs. Kong intro, showcasing Godzilla's attack potency as being 3.15 times 10 to the 14th joules. Either way, the point is, even the most lowballed Omni-Man would blitz Godzilla. And Omni-Man would decimate a lowballed Godzilla, going by the movie's own attack potency readings, even with a 20 times multiplier, barring Monarch stuff. Stamina is more of a toss-up, but I would probably lean more towards Godzilla here. Both Omni-Man and Godzilla can for sure fight for about half a day, since Omni-Man fought a dragon for nearly 10 hours, and a depowered Godzilla's battle with Kong lasted for about half a day.
Jesus.
While stranded on the Flaxen Dimension, Omni-Man had been fighting in a war with them for about a year, which is pretty impressive. But fighting against a lot of random fools for a year is not the same thing as fighting someone of relative or comparable strength level for extended periods of time like Godzilla has done before. The guidebooks do say that Viltrumites have nearly inexhaustible stamina, and if you think that Omni-Man's stamina can be in any way scaled to Thrag's own, which allowed him to fight battle beasts for several days even while heavily injured, then it might be closer. If Thrag is like a 10 and we say Omni-Man is an 8, he shouldn't be too far off from that range. Otherwise, by pure showings, Godzilla has the edge here, and with the increased energy capacity, I wouldn't be surprised if he could fight for several days on end. If we're not using the Monarch statements and going by pure feats, then I think that Omni-Man should be able to win with immense difficulty. Yes, Godzilla does have a slight power and durability advantage, but the gap between them isn't so massive that Omni-Man wouldn't be able to hurt him at all. Omni-Man's win con is to use his speed to his advantage and pummel the hell out of Big G, all while avoiding his strikes. If he hits a radioactive lizard more times than he's hit, then he certainly does have a possibility of winning. However, if he doesn't end the fight quickly and his stamina starts to wane, then Godzilla could eventually land a hit and come out on top that way, especially with an atomic breath. Another possible win con for the Titan is if you think that Godzilla's roar and vocalizations could trigger the Viltrumites' weakness, that being their insanely sensitive ears which are responsible for their balance in flight. A common misconception is that just any loud sound can affect them this way, but no. In the comics it's revealed that it has to be a specific high pitch or frequency. So I wouldn't put too much confidence in this argument, but it's certainly possible that if Godzilla uses this, he could briefly stagger the Viltrumite long enough to land a clean hit. If we are using the Monarch statements, then I'd definitely give the win to Godzilla. If even pre-supercharged Godzilla had power level readings rivaling that of the Hollow Earth, whose portals already contain the power of thousands of supernovas, then an evolved Godzilla with their logic would have the power of clusters of supernovas, literally on some Heisei Godzilla and Godzilla Earth type. Yes, Godzilla would still run into a speed problem, but speed doesn't matter much here when there's such a massive difference between their power, durability, and stamina. Maybe you could argue that Omni-Man going at absolute top speed at massively faster than light levels could go through Big G akin to how Anissa fought Rise of Kaiju. But to be honest, what's more likely going to happen is that Omni-Man is going to be splatted, without Godzilla even realizing what the hell just happened.
Wow, so he's gonna go all in, just be like, and then he explodes. Oh my god.
Even if we were to use the highball from Omnipotus being able to wipe out a solar system, it just doesn't quite compare to the power of a hyper supernova lizard going Kaioken times 20. Otherwise, I'd say that due to Omni-Man's greater speed and battle IQ, he should be able to outlast a Titan and win with high difficulty more times than not. But he cannot afford to take more than a few hits or he's going to be beyond boned. And he definitely has to avoid the atomic blast at all costs or he's done for. Another thing to note here as well is that Omni-Man has fought a wider menagerie of opponents than Godzilla, and has fought giant monsters before. While MonsterVerse Godzilla, barring the DC Comics stuff, in movie canon, has never fought a superpowered humanoid, so the realm of familiarity is going to be a huge advantage for Omni-Man here.
That's true.
But if we were using the DC Comics stuff, then Godzilla would one-shot even easier and faster than he would with the Monarch statements, since he would basically be 20 times of the Superman he was able to get the best of with his atomic breath. With Superman, as I covered in one of my last videos, being able to fight hyper-powerful beings like Doomsday who can break through the boundless, dimensionless Phantom Zone, and Superboy Prime who could tear apart the Anti-Monitor, who at his peak during the pre-crisis era, almost consumed the infinite multiverse. The same Superman who can fly and react fast enough to cross through time itself, or through places that don't even have the concept of distance to begin with.
Right.
So Godzilla would blitz as well in that scenario, if he's able to keep up with that version of the Man of Tomorrow. But yeah, please let me know who you think wins, and thank you for watching. Peace out.
Goddamn. That is interesting, yeah. So they both kind of like win in different aspects, but it's like... Didn't realize Godzilla was so goddamn powerful. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to be able to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask. Helps support the channel. Greatly appreciate. Thanks for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? You guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys next time.